Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. Today, we're discussing a model launched in 2014 and long my favorite entry in the Bethune DB28 collection. This is the DB28 Digitale, a Moonphase and a jump hour. It's a watch that is large but light, spreading itself elegantly across the wrist. It treads lightly, but it has a broad wingspan. So while this is long time my favorite Bethune watch, I have to admit I don't quite have the wrist for it. And the reason for that is the size. 45 millimeters in diameter. The watch, as you see it right here, measures a surprisingly agreeable 13.3 millimeters thick. It is not a thick watch. The lug span here at full extension is 57.7 millimeters, and when you compress these patented spring-loaded floating lugs, you can see the variable geometry yields a 53.1 millimeter lug-to-lug dimension with a 26 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now here you can see the moment of truth. The watch is just a little bit too large for me. Now, while different lug sizes are available for different wrist sizes, I think the canister itself tells the tale. It's a broad thing. Feather light in sapphire and titanium, grade 5 titanium. Nevertheless, I think you need a wrist of 17 centimeters circumference or larger to wear this one well. That said, it's a lot flatter than it looks, and it will fit underneath a dress cuff. The strap is high grade. You can see it's a Bethune factory piece. Large, rectangular, symmetrical scale alligator leather on the top. That's a good cut of the animal. Large, symmetrical, rectangular scale. Matte finish, navy blue here. We've got a monotone stitch, a folded edge that's been lacquered for refinement. We have on the bottom small round scale alligator, which makes for a strap that costs a few hundred more, but also lasts substantially longer. You're seeing this on all of the best brands these days. Bethune was ahead of the curve in that regard. Bethune pin buckles tend to echo the design of the lugs. So here we have these open, airy, articulated lugs, and we have a buckle to match. You can see it's Bethune branded. Like the case, it's grade 5 tie. Grade 5 tie is the good stuff. It's lighter than steel, it's hypoallergenic like grade 2, but it's more scratch resistant than grade 2, as well as watchmaking steels like 316L and 904L. So grade 5 is the good stuff. And I found that polished titanium, more than any other type of non-ceramic or non-composite surface, polished titanium does the best job of not scratching visibly. I don't know why that is, but grade 5 tie that's been polished tends to defy the years. If you don't like a watch that shows the wear and tear, this might be for you. You can also see these little bullet tips at the edge of the lugs. The last styling vestige of the original DB1 chronograph, the company's first product from 2002. Ogival, rocket cap, torpedo tip, whatever you call them. This is a design trademark that's been long running at the company. The case is relatively simple. It's sort of a canister with a superimposed bezel. You may wonder, where's the pusher adjuster for the Moonphase? Well, many DB28s do feature a pusher adjuster to adjust the Moonphase. This one uses a crown-activated quickset system. So you can see the spherical Moonphase that is 1/2 white palladium, that's it right there, and the other half of the sphere is fire-blued steel. And there's a quickset for adjusting it. And this Moonphase, when set, has an endurance of 122 years until you need to set it the next time. Now, there's a lot more to play with, as we've got a scrolling minute display and a jumping hour, which is one of the most beguiling complications you'll find on a watch. This is also one of the few DB28s that has more or less a conventional solid dial rather than some open dial. So we have this incredible grand dorche or barleycorn pattern cut with real reductive lathe, guilloché. Bethune makes its own dials, cases, and movements. We have fired blue titanium in a process that is proprietary to Bethune to create the image of the cosmos around the moon and then the star track for the minutes up at the top. A track featuring stars made of little globes of white gold. They're inserted into drillings in the dial by hand. So this watch has a lot to recommend it from an artisanal standpoint. Guilloché, fired steel, blued titanium, white palladium, and a movement that is decorated as well as the best. 30 millimeters in diameter, it is a large caliber. This is the DB2844. So twin barrels, manually wound, 5 days of power reserve in spite of the power-intensive complication. These are self-regulating, so you cannot accidentally overwind them. We have 1, 2, 3 shock protection springs on the balance. That's called triple parachute. It is patented. It's there, yes, to prevent damage to the watch, but also to improve its timekeeping qualities. The balance is one of at least 10 patented by de Bethune watchmaking lead and co-founder Denis Flageolet, and this is the 2010 patent balance, which features a full disc of silicon and an annular white gold mass. It has 3 purposes. 1, diminish the effect of temperature change on timing. 2, reduce the effect of aerodynamic drag on timing. And 3, maximize the percentage of total balance mass in the rim. This does all 3. Though the only way you can see it operating is the motion of the escape wheel, which is silicon for reduced friction and wear, or the breathing of the hairspring, which is a proprietary design. Now you could see this as a flat hairspring. You could even see right here that there's a micro clamp holding the 2 pieces of it together. Well, de Bethune does not make the hairspring, although it is exploring bringing hairspring manufacture entirely in-house. What it does is it cuts the hairspring coil, and then it micro profiles the terminal curve to look a little bit more like a dog leg. It's more angular than circular. This is then clamped back together with a micro clamp to create a flat hairspring that is shock resistant like a flat hairspring and thin like a flat hairspring, but breathes concentrically like an overcoil, and it beats at 4 hertz. All of this pivots on 42 joules. Now we've got a lot of fine finish here. We'll start with the Côte de Bethune. So when they create Côte de Bethune, they stripe the cap that's on one side of the base plate, and then they reverse the wheel when they get to the other side. The bridge cap is split. You could just see that it's split down the center, and the wheel is reversed on each side. So you can see that the dark side, the dark gradient of the stripe, is facing outboard on the left, and the dark gradient of the stripe is facing outboard on the right. That is Côte de Bethune. It's applied using an abrasive wheel, just like Côte de Genève, but one side mirrors the other rather than being identical all the way across. We have media blast on the base plate. You can see that the balance bridge has been both black polished and fully rounded, but then they went one more step and they fired it blue. Now, fully rounded black polished bridges are what you expect on, say, the best Grubel 4C pieces, and that's what we have here. You may not expect that kind of finish from de Bethune, but you should. You can also see that the springs for the triple parachute patented shock protection system, they are mirror polished. Those are made of steel. There's a polished and fired blue bridge to mount them at center. We have mirrored cups for the pivot jewels. You can also see that the barrel bridge and the barrel bridge cap both feature rounded mirrored anglage on their edge. Screw heads are polished on their tops. You can see that there's solarization on the barrel covers, and that the ratchet wheel, which is this one right here, actually has micro beveled teeth. I don't know how well you can see that, but that is incredibly difficult and disciplined to achieve. The watch is 30 meters water resistant, but it does include a screw down crown, so it's a rather literal 30 meters, as this crown is here to add extra water resistance, but also to protect the crown from the motion of the floating lugs. This watch simply exhausts superlatives. If you've got the wrist for it, from one of the most exciting independent brands in the business, this is the de Bethune DB28 Digitale. And remember, the 28 is the company's icon, the winner of the Aiguille d'Or back in 2011, effectively Best Picture at the Oscars of watchmaking, and this is the digital Moonphase version. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.